Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
What if I told you all that one of the greatest and most feared UFC fighters of all time once didn't even have enough money to afford a pair of shoes to train in? That man who couldn't afford shoes at one time now has a few world records in the world's toughest sport. He comes from a place where violence and poverty isn't just an exception, but it's a norm. Charles Oliveira, or as known by millions of his fans as Charles do Bronx, is more than one of the most popular UFC fighters in the sport. He's the definition of determination, perseverance, and faith. In this world, everyone is tested on a daily basis with some kind of disappointment, hardship, or setback. Because of this, we always end up looking up to people who will also overcome these challenges. Charles Oliveira's story is for all of us in this room because we all have faced challenges in our lives. As someone who follows the UFC and is very passionate about the sport, I've been a longtime fan of Charles, and I've spent a lot of time learning about his background, his previous fights, and his fate. The more I learned, the more I realized how truly inspiring his story is, and how he isn't just any regular old athlete. He is someone who I look up to, someone that I think many would consider a true hero. Today I want to share with you why Charles Oliveira is my hero. Firstly, I will walk you through his journey from the poverty-stricken favelas in Brazil to the top of the UFC. Then I will tell you about his unique fighting style and how he achieved many victories and broke many records in the octagon using this style. Lastly, I will explain how his unwavering faith and his never-give-up mindset inspire not only myself, but millions of others around the world. Charles Oliveira was born in the favelas of Sao Paulo, Brazil, where almost 80% of families are involved in poverty, and violence is a daily occurrence in the environment. Charles's family was no exception. He has said in many interviews that his mom and dad also struggled with poverty, and sometimes struggled to afford food for groceries. This did not stop Charles from having a big dream and wanting to accomplish it. That dream was to become a fighter. According to an article from MMA Junkie, it says Oliveira's rise is a story of grit and determination, coming from humble beginnings in the slums of Brazil to becoming one of the most dangerous submission artists the UFC has ever seen. In his childhood, he also suffered from physical setbacks. As a child, Charles suffered from rheumatoid fever, and some of the doctors said he might never be able to fight. Charles, against all odds, refused to give up, and through great determination, persevered through illness and overcame this great setback. After finally beating the illness at the age of 12, Charles began attending Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes. These classes changed his life. Charles discovered mentorship, structure, and discipline while fighting on the mat. BJJ was something solid that Charles could hold on to around the unsteady world around him. Other people around Charles's age were being roped into gang violence and getting caught up in drugs. Charles did not waver from his love of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu though. He started competing in tournaments, training endlessly, and eventually obtaining his black belt. This sport at first was just a way to escape the real world for Charles, but eventually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became Charles' purpose. It was through Jiu-Jitsu Charles finally started to believe in himself. Charles could have easily fallen into a life of gang violence, but instead he chose a life of discipline and structure. This is one of the many reasons I admire him so much, because in a city where not many kids make it out, Charles defied all odds and built a future using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that inspire millions today. Charles Oliveira, after 8 years of practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Sao Paulo, decided to make his UFC debut. He was only 20 years old at the time. After his debut, he was immediately loved in the UFC world because of his fighting style. He was unpredictable, exciting, and most importantly, extremely dangerous on the ground. Over the years he debuted, he has only improved his ground game and is now recognized as one of the best submission artists in the sport. According to an article by MMA Fighting, it says Charles Oliveira now stands as the all-time leader in submission in UFC history, setting a new benchmark in the lightweight division known for its insane submission game. Currently, Charles has the record for most submission victories in UFC history. This means that he doesn't just beat his opponents, he dominates them. He wins decisively, and in most cases, dramatic fashion against some of the best fighters in the world. Another thing that sets Charles apart from the rest of the fighters in his division is his creativity. His submission game is unlike anybody else's. It is distinct and powerful, and it only takes a second for Charles to grab a hold of his opponent and end the fight. He keeps fans on the edge of their seats because they have no idea when Oliveira is going to pull out some crazy move to finish the fight. His fighting style is like no other. Another thing that makes Charles my hero is his strong dedication and determination to be the champion. For years, even though many people in the UFC community acknowledged Charles' skills, he was overlooked in title conversations. He people doubted his toughness, and many said that he would fold under the pressure. But finally, in 2021, he was awarded a chance to win the UFC lightweight title against Michael James. In the fight, Chandler almost knocked out Oliveira in the first round, but just like in life, Charles persevered through adversity and came back in the second round and won the fight via knockout. This result shocked the world, as many believed Charles was going to lose this fight, but through all of the doubt and hate, Charles persevered through it all and became the champion of the division. Beyond his insane talent and unmeasurable toughness, what sets Charles apart from other athletes is his relationship with God. His journey in the octagon is already something that I can look up to, but why he is my true hero is through all the money and fame, Charles has stayed grounded and maintained his connection with Christ. Also, his mindset he has when faced with any challenge is inspiring. Any challenge Charles faced, whether that was poverty, illness, or one of his many opponents, Oliveira has had the same mindset through it all and has feared nothing. Charles has always been outgoing and will tell anyone who will listen how important his relationship with God is. Faith to Charles is the foundation of how he lives, thanking Christ in his victories and even in his defeats, thanking God for the gift of so long. The setbacks Charles has experienced in life might have conquered other athletes, but Charles never lost hope. He held fast to the Lord and was in constant dependence upon his faith in all the struggles, and ultimately he overcame it all. Aside from faith, Charles has a champion's heart. Discipline, resilience, perseverance, and tenacity are the four primary traits Charles has demonstrated in his life. There's been countless situations throughout Charles' life where he easily could have given in and just done the easy thing. Instead, he used these problems as fuel, and it made him work and train even harder than before. Win or lose, Charles has always shared the same humble mind and mentality, and that is why many individuals from across the world find him relatable. Now that you have listened to Charles' inspiring story, you can now see why Charles do Bronx Oliveira is my hero. His story is not just about his incredible fighting career or insane submission game, but most importantly, his story is about coming from nothing and through faith, motivation, and great determination, being able to make something out of it and overcome challenges that may seem impossible. Charles at one point could not even afford shoes, but he never let the situation he was in have an effect on him. And instead, he used these challenges he faced as fuel and is now one of the most respected UFC champions the sport has ever seen. Thank you all for listening.